Hello, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I am Sharif, and this is my co-host Jake. We're DeFi Talks. Today, we're here to talk about NFTs. This craze has been going on for about 6, 7 months now, if not more. And I just kind of want to talk about it because for me, it is a little bit ridiculous and it's kind of promising at the same time. I can see some use cases. So we're dedicating this podcast to going over those use cases and also to go over a little bit of the complaints that I have about this. So hello, Jake.
Hey Sharif, good morning. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. NFTs have been really interesting topic for a lot of people. There's been some really exciting headlines. I think even some sort of mass media headlines over the last year. So it's been hard to miss if you've been on the internet. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk about some stuff with NFTs. Let's jump right into Sharif. Like, what is an NFT and what is it used for? And then we can get into some of these examples of how like you can have a little ape um, image that's worth as much as your house. So yeah, what's an NFT, Sharif?
So, to talk technically, an NFT is a non fungible token. It's something that can't necessarily be replicated. You can take any item, mostly they're digital items, but you can take any item and attach a code to it that's unique, just like a long string of numbers that's unique that is going to set it apart from everything else that is similar to it, or even products that are the same visually but they don't have the same token, which is what makes it unique. So non-fungible tokens can, like I said, be attached to any kind of art or any kind of actual property, and it could be a way to represent that property, like this is mine because it has this unique code which I am the owner of. This proves that it's me. And if you go look at the blockchain where this non fungible token is being stored, then you'll see when I bought it, when I moved it, who I sold it to, what I did with it. So, to put it more simply, it's just a proof of ownership of an item. And since I think June of this of last year, this has gotten more and more popular, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them that immediately jumps to mind is the artists. So if you're an artist and you want to protect your digital property, well, you better have some kind of contract or some kind of code or something that says that that's yours. Because nowadays online, it's very easy to just steal something, to not credit somebody, to repost something without actually mentioning where you got it from, and that can cause issues that can reduce the amount of money that people make from things. So that's what an NFT is. Now, what do you think about NFTs, Jake? Because I know you have a very different opinion than I do.
Yeah, I mean NFTs. There's a whole spectrum of how you can consider them and how you can look into like for example there's a group of people who they joke about how you can just right click your NFT and save as a JPEG, and it's like, yeah, I stole your NFT, and then you can upload it as your own profile picture and just do whatever you want, all the way into the like actual haters of the entire thing who think they're horrible in general in terms of like a disaster for the art industry. And then there's also people who look at NFTs as a huge sink of energy because most of them are on the Ethereum blockchain, which every time you have an NFT transaction, therefore it's pretty sizable gas fee compared to maybe other layer one blockchains. And then there's people who just love it and collect them and see it as actually like their onboarding to crypto. I think there's people who are and this is where it was kind of like awakening for me being in Miami, but like so much of it was NFT this and NFT that everywhere. Even for Solana, like we're there and there's a developer room with 300 teams, and like Tim Tebow walks in and he's there for an NFT centered project around NCAA athletes. Like he's there caring about crypto because of an NFT focus. So I think that's the really interesting part where I've tried to listen to some of these people and understand and just like see the value in it from all these different angles. And one of the ones that you mentioned, Sharice, I think it's really cool to merge into our next topic is like just the crossover with like the traditional art market, right? You have these huge projects And like last year, I think what kind of kicked off NFT mania, you had the Beeple Sotheby's sale for 69 million or something crazy like that. $69 million. And then it gets into like, regardless of what people think about NFTs, like these massive auction house milestones are happening. And then this has kind of created this roar of what we've seen is like ape mania with Bored Apes and CryptoPunks has been crazy. So let's talk about that. Like there within the comparison to the traditional art market with NFTs and all this money moving around. And even that, like today we talked about the Bored Ape floor price, the minimum to get into that market. It's
Yeah.
370,000. So what comparisons do you make with NFTs and like art
Uh,
market moving money laundering, all this, Sharif?
tax evasion. It's tax evasion. It's tax evasion for the rich. That's what immediately springs to mind. So I have to be very careful with this because I have no people that make NFTs that are as poor as any other people that you know of. Like they're not rich. They're not moving around hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're barely even making $100 off a piece. And like maybe a third of that is going into gas fees if they're on the Ethereum network. And then you consider all the time making the NFT, finding the people to sell it, putting it online, waiting for it to sell. It's a difficult market to get into for a lot of people. But for those with the actual finances to back them, then they can use this tool in a very, very negative way. Like they can buy an NFT, which is typically going to be considered an investment. So I suppose you don't pay taxes on that when you move it around, and then you give it to your friends. And it's easier transferring a JPEG than it is transferring $370,000 in cash. It's way easier actually, and you're way less likely to get hurt doing that.
It's also untrackable for like a lot of regular institutions, right? You could probably just open up a wallet on any new MetaMask wallet and be able to move NFTs around, and you can just get clever with a couple moves, and it might be really hard to detect. Yeah, it's on the blockchain, and if somebody wants to really audit, then yeah, it's all there and it can be figured
So
out.
the thing about the blockchain, I see that point because I would have to say it was very easy in the past to move lots of money around on the blockchain without anybody finding out because the technology was relatively new and law enforcement hasn't learned how to deal with it yet. They didn't have enough people that understood this tech to be able to do things like audits and finding like how money is moving around. But at this point in the evolution of um, this technology, I think that law enforcement is as up to date as people like me or anybody else that's really knowledgeable at this stuff are, because they have people, they can hire people that will do that job for them. They can subcontract somebody to go and do these audits. And you see this a lot, like a lot of hacks that happened this year. Sure, they took a bunch of money, but now it's just sitting in a wallet and they can't actually do anything with it because it's all marked. All of those numbers can be completely like they can be found instantly. You go on Polygon scan or ETH scan if you're on the Ethereum network, Polygon scan if you're on the Polygon network, and you could just type the name. Like you have that code, you have that number. So like the token number, you can type that in, or the transaction number, you can type that in, and it'll be there. So the case is that when I say it is being used for tax evasion, I think that it's being used inside of circles that already know how to deal with law enforcement. Hacks, I don't think are as common in terms of NFTs. And when they do happen, like the money's just sitting there. What are you going to do? Sell something that everybody knows has been stolen? That's probably going to get you arrested. But the amount of criminal activity that can happen through the people that have the means to make that go away, just like, all right, I'll send you 10 apes. That's $3.8 million. I won't pay a single dollar on taxes and even transaction fees, because when you use the Ethereum network, your transaction fee is the same as everybody else on the network. It doesn't matter how much money you're moving. It's just about how busy the network is at the moment. So that's where the negatives start to creep up. I want to listen to what you had to say. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
You're good. I mean, I just think it's really funny. Like, I want to talk about, I want to add to what you mentioned about how if you are up to no good and you're doing something bad on the blockchain, and yeah, you can, your identity is technically stripped away, but it's on the public ledger and it's on the blockchain forever. And it's kind of just like the traditional art market, right? Or diamond market, where if there is something that has been mismanaged, like an inside piece of art, it's all of a sudden is missing from the vaults, or if there is an actual heist, even if you successfully move an asset around, you got to kind of go silent for like years, and then who are you going to sell it to? You need to be very careful because you have such a limited amount of people who might be interested in like what's seen as maybe a corrupt asset now. Like it's funny how like these historic challenges, they kind of translate to the blockchain and translate to Web3. I just wanted to make that comment. um, and then yeah, there's a lot of like sticky situations with NFTs still, and just like, is it another example of people being able to move large sums of money around in an unchecked way? Maybe. I mean, we'll see. The other thing I think we need to mention around, like you said, there's not as many hacks, but another thing that is kind of bad there's within the NFT world that we need to talk about, and I'm shocked that you didn't mention it, Sharif, is that there's a ton of NFT rug pull projects, just like total projects that like fake a roadmap, and they have anonymous developers, non-developers, and then they build a Discord. There's a whole formula, guys. They build a Twitter and all these types of things. They have a website and it usually looks good. And then of course they have a generative art project. And they might have the names of artists are also anonymous. Like for example, we still don't know two of the people who were the software developers who um, actually helped like generate the Bored Apes. By the way, like that's another example. Like those people are still anonymous, which is I see as an issue. But regardless, what we're talking about is just that there's these projects out there, so you have to look out for like these red flags. Especially the anonymous developer thing is the main one, and then like lack of a roadmap is another one. So you just have to be careful. It's still just like other coin projects and other crypto worlds. You gotta be careful and do your research and make sure that you talk to your grassroots communities, like Sharif and I always talk about. That's why it's so important to make some real life friends in crypto who are not going to try and trick you and actually try to help you along the way and guide you and that sort of thing. So with that being said, I think we also want to shift into talking about like, okay, there's been this explosion of NFTs. There's an art market crossover, but like, how did this happen with like mainstream mass adoption, whereas in a lot of other crypto spheres it didn't really happen? What's your view on that, Sharif? How did this like popularity happen?
Crypto, as much as people say that NFTs they don't make sense, people understand them, and that's why they think they're dumb. So there's multiple levels of understanding what a thing is in technology, because you can know it as a user, you can know it as a developer, you can know it as a person that spends a lot of time on the internet. Like there's different ways you can understand something. And to the people that say, well, it is just a dumb JPEG, a lot of the time that's true. So these projects that you were mentioning, the rug pulls, these are projects and instances where it was just a dumb JPEG. There was no other use for it. There was never going to be any other use for it. It was just there to make a quick million, 2 million, 3 million. You could see it in a lot of artists and a lot of people that did podcasts and a lot of people that did videos. They would make an NFT, get a couple $1,000,000, say they were going to do something with it, like let them access special concerts or whatever. Then that never goes to fruition. It never works out the way that the sale pitch said it would. So in terms of why is there such a crossover? Why is there so much adoption now? Why is this such a thing that everybody knows about it? It's because it's simple enough that people can understand it, and it's also a like you said, a gateway into crypto. It teaches you about blockchains. So once you understand what a non-fungible token is, then you probably understand what a fungible token is, and that helps you get a bigger understanding of crypto, bigger understanding of technology and blockchain technology. So it's a great way to get in. hopefully you didn't get scammed, or you don't get scammed by one of those projects that doesn't actually have any utility to it. There's a lot of projects like Splinterlands, which is very interesting, and I actually did take a look at it. I say that, like, people tell me to take a look at things I just never remember, but I took a look at Splinterlands because it's such an interesting project where you can play a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic the Gathering, with NFTs that you collect online. Then there was another Philly one called like something like Neko Core, something like that. It was like a Pokemon game that you get the NFTs and then they get entered into tournaments. So there's a lot of interesting projects that make like hit wider audiences than just cryptocurrency. I can see kids into this. I can see adults into this. I can see artists into this. I can see gamers into this. It just opens a whole level of marketing that is necessary for something like this to succeed, and for us to get wider adoption. So that's why I think it's as common as it is with the people. I don't know though, why is it so common with those the celebrities and all the artists. I know, Jake, you were preparing, and this is probably a long video. If you want, we can cut this out, but you were preparing for a video about Bored Apes, and you did a research on all the celebrities holding it. Could you tell us a little about that?
That's definitely one of the elements of why I think Bored Apes have exploded in the way that they have. Because kind of sort of the timing of what happened was CryptoPunks was around for years. Bored Apes were minted. It was just a year ago yesterday, April 30th was the sale, 2021. But CryptoPunks had been around for like 4 years, but it had never had a big price surge. And what happened was the Beeple sale happened. The $70 million sale happened in March of last year, and then here we are. COVID hits. Everybody's sitting on some stimulus money, and then there's like the NFT craze happens. And what happened was, CryptoPunks was a project that, yeah, they were first to market with the profile pictures, but it was the timing and the release that Bored Apes had. It was just the perfect time to be a profile picture project with COVID and the NFT mania, and it was just a project that exploded. And then, yes, of course, you had 6 months later this, because everybody did the sale. You could have gotten a Bored Ape last year at this time for $200. That's how much they were minted for, 0.08 ETH, all 10,000. And then it wasn't until like months later, into the fall, that and summer months, that celebrities started buying them. Like, you could, Post Malone bought his for like 180,000. You could get them for like these prices. They were buying up all the cool ones. That's what people were doing. They wanted to go through, and some had gold chains and some had laser eyes, and there's a lot of really cool rare ones. And then of course you have the celebrity sort of like explosion when you have fucking Paris Hilton and Jimmy Fallon on the late night show showing like physical little frames of their NFTs and being like, this is my Bored Ape. And it's kind of cringy, to be honest. And if you read a lot of mass media about it, most of the response was cringy, but it definitely brought NFTs, and specifically the Bored Ape project, into like mass awareness. And I think it's just continued to flare up. We still see it. Like, NFTs are still ripping, I think, even in this sort of like weird sort of sideways crypto market. So it's been insane to watch. And that also a final thing I'll add to like the skepticism and like why a lot of people think it's ridiculous. It's like, that's kind of what the Bored Apes look like. You buy it. It's like a Gucci bag, right? It's like having a nice sports car. It's like, that's what it is for a lot of people.
But I
And
feel like at least you can drive a sports car or put something in a Gucci bag. I get that you could put it as a profile picture, and so I'm of the opinion that everything should be free if you can get it for free, and the internet should be completely free because it's just there, right? I don't know. This is just how I feel about things, and I don't always apply this logic, but if you think about it, that money put into a picture. I just looked at the charts like really quickly, and I'm really, really sad to say that yesterday, one of them, no, it was like 2 weeks ago, one of them sold for $800,000. And it doesn't make any sense to me that something would sell for $800,000 when it has no like actual utility. And we can talk about projects with utility, but it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like there's something more there. There's no way that this thing has moved more volume than like donations to COVID or any other like important project that we need in our day-to-day lives, or maybe into healthcare. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm going on this rant. It just makes me really angry to see that. Like at 370, I was able to sit with for a minute, but this is just ridiculous. But my point is that it just seems to me like a lot is going on in this space where people are getting screwed over and people are making ridiculous, illogical amounts of money. So I kind of look down on it sometimes, and I probably shouldn't. But I want to ask you, since you're
Yeah.
an advocate, at least to some extent, are there projects that are worth it?
Well, here's what, for example, a Bored Ape holder would say. And by the way, most Bored Ape holders, they don't even have one ape. They probably have two or three. That's how much they're into it. But they would say that like the utility they get from holding it, like access to a couple of these parties, like they do real in-person events where you have only people with Bored Apes in their wallet can get in to that event. Things like this, and that's pretty much it. There's a couple other things like there's like this online board where everybody can excuse me, contribute to this art project and like paint all together, like little tiny things like that. But I think the main thing is that they would argue that they're willing to spend that amount of money to have access to those private parties with just ape holders. I think that's the utility that they would argue that they're willing to pay.
Aren't there better ways to get into those kinds of parties? Because if you're like, I can see somebody wants success and like power and money and access to like people with success, power, and money. But the argument is, couldn't you get there another way? There's other ways to get there. If you did something important with that amount of money, you would probably get there and even get to better places too. But for me, it just seems like a sometimes, and I really want to go back to the point where there are good projects, like because I know I've heard about them, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Just every time I hear about one of these kinds of projects, I get upset because it doesn't like. Why would you tie your success to this thing that could disappear at any time? You could get hacked. You could get it stolen from you. The group could just stop functioning. These things happen. I don't know. Maybe I could say the same about like getting stocks. I just really I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now. So sorry.
No, I mean, there's plenty of projects that have like a pretty solid community behind them, and usually they have a good initiative. Like my mind goes to like Women Rise, something that like is doing something with the sales to like support of social or environmental initiative. These types of things. These
What
projects.
is Woman Rise?
It's a
I've
project
never heard
that
of it.
has like really cool generative art of women like looking like superheroes, and I know that the money is used in some way that has an empowering aspect around it for like women in STEM and just women in general. So that's like one good project example. There's others that do things for like raising money for certain either communities or like an environmental contribution or something like this. It just so happens that these are few and far in between, and that's why we made that warning signal earlier about projects that have anonymous founders or a fragile roadmap, things like this. Like there's ways to detect them and see them coming, but I'm looking at this list of like the best NFT projects to follow in 2022. It's funny that like VFriends, Gary V's project is one of them. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on here that I don't recognize, but there's some that I've heard of and see. But it's all like even like Decentraland's NFT project is on here, by the way. It's in the top 5 in volume, total volume too. Um, but yeah, I mean it's the whole spectrum. That's kind of what Sharif and I are kind of trying to point out here today, is that not that much utility exists in most projects, and they're just this kind of either ridiculous image that is on an Ethereum blockchain and it costs a lot of money to move it around and nobody really cares about it, or it's this like inflated ridiculous price and it's kind of this like crazy mania that's going on. But within that, I think we'd love to talk also about some actual real utility examples. We have a few that we discussed here within our group here in Philly. For example, like proof of participation in something, proof of attendance. If you're going to show up and do like a celebration,
Proof of workout.
proof of workout thing. Yeah, Sharif and I have done some of those where if you're going to participate in something, then you should be able to show that you did it. Or in the blockchain, for example, have an NFT that says, hey, you were here on this day and you did this thing. And maybe a bunch of other people also shared that exact moment in time, and all can show that by having this NFT. This is an example of something that we think is really cool. Sharif, I'm sure you have some other examples or some comments about these.
So I'm personally, I'll talk about something that I deal with in my day-to-day life, and that's in programming. So I have to build projects, and I have to build those login pages. You know those, like, you put in your email and your password, and if you do it right, you are able to log it into your account and access your information. Well, the thing about that is that it is very so there's some nuances here, but it's very centralized in the sense that you have to go through Google, or you have to go through Facebook, or or any other project that is very big, very like not accessible to you outside of you being a customer. And if you get banned, then well, that's a very difficult problem to deal with. But the point is in authentication, if you hold this thing, then you're able to access a group, or like a Discord server or a website, or you're able to actually like watch a YouTube video. Like, let's say it's a YouTube video that the creator decided is supposed to be paid, but the way they want to get paid is by having you hold um the NFT, right? And that's kind of similar to what you were talking about with Bored Apes. I just don't respect it because it's too much money. But my point is that these NFTs can represent a an access token, like something to log into a website. Like I said, log into a website. Forget about having a website and password. You have your MetaMask wallet in your browser, and then as soon as you have that NFT there, whenever you go on a website, it's just going to log you in immediately. So you don't have to think about doing that every time and remembering different passwords. And you can make that authentication NFT non-transferable. So like, you go and you sign up with the website, they give you the NFT, and in the code they specify that it can't be moved around. So that's your NFT. It's specific to you. Nobody else has it. And every time you go to the website, it'll automatically be detected and let you in. And that solves a big problem in that you have to store their emails, you have to store their passwords, you have to have a server that accepts the request, and it's just such a mess and such a like headache that I feel like NFTs could help there. And another place that they can help is, and this is not my idea, this is someone else's idea. So their idea is that it could be used as a certificate for government. Like, let's say you know a lot about crypto and you're trying to help people like start projects and maintain projects, right? Well, it's very easy to get scammed when you're looking for someone. You're looking for someone to do a job for you. You could just like find the wrong person, or someone that doesn't care, someone that's not like actually knowledgeable about what they're talking about. But if you go to the government and you get this certificate that says, well, yeah, you've actually went through this and this class, and it stays in your wallet, then that's a very great way to it's a very great way to have that, like that authority. So those are a couple of projects that I can think of. Um, but there's more. I'm sure that there's more, like the trading card NFT games, or NFTs that are given away as prizes for like doing things. Um, there's a wide spectrum of stuff. I just don't think that the technology is there yet and it doesn't justify these massive it doesn't justify those massive like investments.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that kind of invites the skepticism. There's ridiculous price tags where a picture of a JPEG, or you and I were joking sort of before we started recording about this NFT sold last year for like 600,000. It was an NFT of a yacht, and it's the same price as a real yacht. So it's like it's a little bit ridiculous to think about it that way. That yeah, you might have a JPEG of a monkey, but like a real house can be bought for 370,000, like a pretty nice house in a lot of parts of America. It's pretty good budget here in Philly. But yeah, you mentioned some really cool examples of utility. I think before we close, just want to harmonize with some of those. because too few people discuss the fact that like an NFT can be, like you said, a degree or a certificate from the government or a license, or even you could have medical records that you can like prove when you like move around to doctors. You can just show like, here's my actual medical record, instead of relying on the network and the clunkiness of moving around medical or dental records. Like it's even horrible today. You might have to like physically request that one doctor send another doctor like physical mail of your medical records because of HIPAA laws, because of privacy things, which sounds ridiculous because like your mail could just be lost, or like you're just kind of relying on them to send everything properly. There's a lot of big issues with that. So you could just walk around with an NFT that's like this, whatever you need to validate the information that you need to show at the time. Again, certificate, license, access to this, whatever. And all these can be NFTs on the blockchain. And I think they will be one day. Car title, housing deed, all these things can be an NFT on the blockchain. So we'll
I
see.
want to share quickly because this is very not in the current world, but this is the image that I get when I like close my eyes and I think about the technology and the purpose of why it's being built. Um, you mentioned like you can capture a moment in time where different people were at a different place and it was a good experience for a lot of people. Like I really enjoyed proof of workout and I wish I got an NFT for that because then I would be able to, right? Like I would have that as a memory. I think that this technology is moving in a direction that is only going to require more of the real world to be moved onto the blockchain. First, it's going to start with paperwork, documents, taxes. Then it's going to start being memories. It's going to start being like actual sensations, like we have with VR and AR right now. They're going to move more and more and more of us into this blockchain, and we're going to need this technology. We're going to need NFTs. We're going to need crypto because everything that we currently have in the real world is insufficient to capture the complexity of like human life. Moving money around in the real world is a very difficult thing to do, especially if you're from certain groups or you do something or you don't agree with what everybody else agrees with or everybody else doesn't agree with what you agree with. These things can really restrict your access um, in the real world, and the blockchain tries to solve a lot of that, and it tries to make our lives better in a lot of different ways. But I can also see a future where the same improvements that we're all striving for can be used against us. What if someday these NFTs will be needed for us to get medication or for us to be able to get food or water or to be able to live in a place? Like what if it's a requirement if you don't have a certain amount or your family didn't have a certain, just like what happened in the real world, you don't have the same access to different things. And that's a scary thought for me. I just don't want more of that. And I can see both futures. Hopefully we go towards the better one. And things where it doesn't make sense, like for me personally with the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, the reason I don't talk about them a lot and I don't show interest in NFTs is because I realize that like a lot of it could be just absolutely ridiculous and a waste. But I can see that a lot of it could also be positive and used for good. So I hope we go more in that direction. I'm really glad we got to work out a lot of these topics in this podcast episode today. Is there anything that you want to end on, Jake?
No, I really think what you said there at the end is exactly right. You know, we'll see if there's kind of like, devil and angel sort of situation on the NFT shoulders, and we'll see how it plays out. If more and more of these projects find utility and come up with interesting ways to really add value to the environment as we move forward, then great, we'll see more of them. And if they don't, we continue to have a cloudy path of landmine type projects with rug pulls and missed promises with roadmaps and things like that, then that'll be really bad. And maybe we'll see fewer and fewer NFTs and this whole big NFT bubble will burst. We need more time. I really feel like we're only like 1 year into this like super mature NFT world. So we will see. That's all I got about NFTs. I'm really glad we got to talk about it today. So yeah, you can close down, Sharif.
All right, guys, this has been DeFi Talks. I'm your host, Sharif, and this is my co host, Jake. We're here with you today just to have these conversations, and we want to continue to have more of these conversations into the future. So if you guys have any ideas, if you guys would like to hear us talk about anything, just leave a comment. If this video was nice, like it and share it for your friends and your family or anybody interested in these JPEGs. Maybe they'll learn something too. And again, I have to give a shout out to DeFi Philly for having just making this happen. It would not have happened without them. Go on Meetup, go find a group, start talking to people in the real world, and things will get better for you. And that's it. See you later, guys.